while other people that drink less wine and maybe less fat have still more frequent heart attack. So this is called the French paradox, trying to explain why. And the answer is resveratrol. They looked at the red wine, and the red wine has a good amount of resveratrol. But resveratrol is available in other type of products, berries, grains, tea, peanuts, and many more. So this is the basic structure of resveratrol. Now, we know that resveratrol generated, or the science generated a lot of data relating to resveratrol. For example, resveratrol is claimed as anti-aging and ability to extend life of cells and the body. How? This is to keep you alert. Why and how? If you know it, maybe you focus on food that has high level of polyphenols, resveratrol, and also use it for skincare product. Number two, it helps protect, reversing, and repairing sun, pollution, and radiation damage. If you get burned, this is a good solution to put on to repair. It also has to do with reduction of fine lines and wrinkles. This is part of the anti-aging that we're looking for. It's help in brightening, toning, and rejuvenating the skin. This is when you're looking for a nice brightening product. It has major benefits as an anti-inflammatory. Of course, we cannot claim anti-inflammatory, but we can say it can help to reduce the redness of the skin. So there are multiple benefits of resveratrol. How does it work? What is the mechanism and how can we harvest the benefits of resveratrol to our benefit, to our skin and our customer skin? So there are three major mechanisms that bring us all these benefits, and I will focus only on those three. One, resveratrol as an antioxidant, and you will see in a few minutes how antioxidant can help you stay younger. Number two is resveratrol as an anti-inflammatory, and it's a critical process because you will see aging has to do with inflammation. If we can reduce the inflammation of the body, we can extend and improve the quality of our life. And number three is rejuvenate cells. How resveratrol, a simple material, can turn almost a dead cell into a live, brilliantly growing and growing and repairing cell. So these are the three major areas that I will explain now how it's all happening. So let's start with the fact that when we expose to elements like sun and other processes, we're producing oxidative stress. So what is oxidative stress? Why do we get it? And how can we reduce? Just the word stress already doesn't sound good. So where it's coming from? Well, it's coming from free radicals. What is free radical? You see here a structure of an atom, and the atom is stable because it has oxygen, for example. It has 8 electrons, and they are in pairs, and they are stable. However, for one or two events, the atom is missing an electron. Let's see here, missing an electron. So what's happened? This missing becomes crazy. He wants to fulfill, he wants to get one electron back, and it becomes radical, like very effective. So he will hurt another atom and another atom and another atom, and this is the phenomena that's called free radicals. Free radicals is an oxygen containing molecule that has one or more unpaired electrons. That's what makes the free radicals very reactive because it's looking for stability. Okay, So now we have these free radicals in our body from different reasons, for different reactions. We have this. Now in the body, it's a game. What do we have more? Free radicals like these crazy elements, or we have something that can calm down, which are the antioxidant. And this balance will determine whether we have protection, repair, growth, stability, and so on. So this balance is causing for an oxidative stress when the level of free radicals is so much higher than the level of antioxidant. And the body is not able to produce enough antioxidant to counteract or detoxify the harmful effect through neutralization and antioxidation. So when we have a lot of oxidative stress, then we have damage. That causes damage to our lipids, fats, to our proteins, nucleic acid, DNA, and so on. As a result of this damage, we have tissue injury. The tissue is not able to function, and also inflammation. So this is the connection between free radicals and inflammation. So what happens? We have a lot of free radicals. You can see in this diagram, you see this is a normal cell. When it's exposed to a lot of free radicals, they suddenly attack the cell and the cell becomes practically dead. So this is a non-functioning cell because of the attack of the free radical. So our enemy, free radicals. Our way of responding is antioxidant. So this is now our friend, antioxidant. Now, what do we know? We know that resveratrol is a strong antioxidant, okay? And this was confirmed by testing in vivo, in vitro, and so on. So resveratrol is a very good antioxidant. And as such, it's regulating two types of processes. For example, upregulate the production of catalase, glutathione peroxide, SOD, which stands for superoxide dismutase, and so on. So this goes up with the stress, and what goes down? It's reducing the synthesis of enzymes that's supposed to cause inflammation, like COX series of enzymes. So COX is producing the signs of inflammation, and resveratrol is able to block it, so we don't see, and the inflammation would not occur. So this is the power. You see here in this diagram how resveratrol from the outside can reach the surface, the membrane of the cell, penetrate, connect to a series of proteins. We will not go into the details. And this protein complex now will go into the nucleus and affect the DNA to produce more proteins, enzymes, such as catalase, such as superoxide dismutase, that will help counteract the free radicals. So this is the power of resveratrol. So now we understand resveratrol and what does it do in terms of antioxidant. So this is one mechanism. Now you understand why we should eat a lot of resveratrol. Maybe we should put more resveratrol on our skin. And so this will help us to protect us from the free radicals. Mechanism number 2 has to do with inflammation. So aging is inflammation. This is a model of the structure of the skin. So you see the top layer, cuticle, then we have the epidermis, then we have the dermis, and the fat layer. So what's holding the epidermis, as you see here, are fibers that's called collagen. And then we have that knots that holding the fibers together called elastin. So now you see what's the difference between a younger skin and an aged skin. Aged skin is losing the fibers, losing the elastin, the collagen. So if there is no support, then the skin starts to fall in, and this is how we get the wrinkles. What it has to do with resveratrol? But first of all, understand this, what's happening. Okay, so this is caused by inflammation. Inflammation is a process that increases the activity of the genes that are responsible for degradation of the skin structure. This is the structure that I just introduced. It's increased the production, or actually it's reducing the production of collagen, elastin significantly. And that's how we get the wrinkles. Also, inflammation reducing the skin rejuvenation, which means the ability to rebuild here in the epidermis new skin. So everything now is depressed. It's thinning the epidermis. The skin becomes thin. We're losing also the fat and the collagen, of course. And more than this, with inflammation, we increase the irregular pigmentation process. So we get all kinds of sunspots and discoloration of the skin. So everything that you see here has to do with inflammation of the skin. And everything to do here is with aging. So let's summarize what's happening here. And so we come back to the point of resveratrol. We are understood that there are intrinsic factors that are affecting aging. There are extrinsic factors like the sun, the contamination from the environment, and so on. So all this is producing an oxidative stress. Now we have this stress in our body and also in our skin, and this stress is generating the signs of aging. Now, what do we want to do? We want to kick off this arrow with resveratrol. Resveratrol is able to kick this arrow and slow down the aging. How? Okay, so let's talk about different materials that we have in our food basket that can help us. Curcumin is one of them, caffeic acid, quercetin, and resveratrol. I'm going to focus on now resveratrol. Resveratrol and any other polyphenols here is available within most of the fruits and vegetables that you can think, including in coffee. So these all contains polyphenols. Now, how polyphenol and resveratrol specifically can help us. Here is a research paper came in from Taiwan a couple of years ago, and it measured the ability of resveratrol to protect cells from UV radiation. UVA radiation is the range of frequency that's causing appearance of age on our skin. So what do you see here in this graph? This is the cell viability, percent of the 100%. So this is percent. And we are measuring here two parameters that were added. One of them was resveratrol was added to the cell culture and radiation, UVA. So let's look at the first bar. The first bar got 0 resveratrol and 0 radiation. And you see the cells are growing 100%. And this is now the standard. Now we look at the second group here. This group did not get resveratrol, but get radiation. Immediately you see the level of viability is 50%. So this is pretty low radiation, 20 joule per centimeter square, and it killed almost instantly 50% of the cells. Now we take this second one. Here we add 1 micromolar of resveratrol with the radiation, and now we see improvement in cell viability. So then we added 3, then added 10, and up to 10, we see we have a continuous increase of the viability of the cells, which means that resveratrol is able to protect cells with increasing concentration up to 10 micromolar of resveratrol. So this is one of the unique scientific peer-reviewed paper that shows clear benefit of using resveratrol to protect skin cells from radiation. This is not made in vivo in clinical conditions, but in single cells. Okay, there are very few documents that talking about clinical data that's coming from third party. Okay, but this is the first evidence that resveratrol can protect us from UVA. Okay, now I'm coming to the real revolutionary information. Resveratrol can reverse the aging by turning cells, the old cells, into young cells. So this study was done in UK. They grew cells in culture, and there is a phenomenon that's called sense cells. The sense science cells are a phase of cells that are very old. These cells are not able to divide and repair themselves. So let's call them the old cells. Okay, so what we know is that these cells are characterized with special structure of the chromosomes. Now you know that you look at this structure here. This is the cell, the nucleus has the DNA, the chromosomes, and this is illustration of the chromosome made out of DNA. And the edges of the chromosome, we have something that's called telomere. What is telomere? Telomere is a sequence of DNA. You see T, T, A, G, G, G. Okay, these 6 elements are coming up repetitively along the chromosome. So this is a region of repetitive nucleotide sequences, and they come at the end of the chromosome. Now, every time the cell divides, the telomere becomes shorter. So you see here, this is again the cell, this is the chromosome, the edge of the end of the chromosome is the telomere. The telomere is signed here with the red. So you see when you start one cell, now it's dividing, the amount of red is reduced with replaced with emptiness, which is the white. And get another generation of dividing, less of the red, less of the red, up to X generation, and there is no red, and these are old cells. Okay, this is what we call sensing. So these cells are not able to divide any further, and they're characterized by having no telomeres. That's it, this is the fact. Now, what it has to do with retinol, which was resveratrol, excuse me, which was resveratrol. So here you see happy. This is a happy chromosome because he has a long life, a long telomere. And this is an older one, has almost no telomere. So this is how you can look at the cell and determine the age group at least. So this is what we know. So what happened in their studies? They found out that there is a factor called the splicing factor. Splicing factor is a protein. And the protein has 2 major responsibilities in our cells. One, it can repair the DNA, and the DNA is always exposed to elements that break it down. So this is repairing DNA. And the second function, it's able to turn on and off certain genes. So what the researcher here in UK who studied this, they found out that if they grow the cells in the culture, old cells, and they expose them to resveratrol, almost immediately, the cells completely change. Suddenly they grow telomeres and they start to divide and they start to function, to repair themselves, almost in hours, in a couple of hours. So this is, resveratrol, is fundamental ingredients of anti-aging in the cellular level. So before I talked about the resveratrol can help with the other outside factors of the skin. No, this is now serious business. Resveratrol is not like another botanical that one would add for the marketing story. No, this is a material that is able to change and turn aging or reverse aging completely. Resveratrol was tested in cells and in animals, but was not tested successfully with human yet. But there are many research going on, many papers are published about the effect on human. Very few papers talking about the effect of resveratrol on human skin, very few. Okay, so bottom line is resveratrol is able to cause or reverse the aging of cells, rejuvenate them, cause them to divide and grow, proliferate, and behave like young cells. And here you see the pictures. So on the top right, you see healthy cells when the blue color here is the nucleus and the red color is the mitochondria in the cytoplasm. So you see the cells look like happy, they stick together and they are big, white and happy. This is how a happy cell look like. Now, when they're exposed to something that causes them immediate aging, for example, ethanol is killing the cells. So they're exposed to ethanol, you see what's happening? First of all, they separate immediately. Then the nucleus is still there, but there is no mitochondria. No mitochondria, no energy, no repair, no maintenance, nothing. However, when they expose back to mitochondria, look what happened back. You see, they come back vivid cells. So this is the effect of resveratrol. You can see here cells dividing. Before that, they were almost dead. So resveratrol has an effect to revise skin and cells. So with this in mind, let's go to the practical approach. How can we utilize resveratrol in a practical way to make product with resveratrol and see this effect, if this is really so great in the lab? So the first consideration for us is to look at what is the best source for resveratrol. And there are different sources in natural resveratrol. For example, grape skin has about 5.89 microgram per gram. But this is only one source. Mulberries contain 10 times more. These are mulberries. Mulberries, they're tasty, they are wild, they're growing in nature. You can pick up the fruits and they're sweet and great. So this is mulberries. Mulberries has 10 times more than grape skin. Of course, seed has even more, less. As grape seed has even less resveratrol. Now, resveratrol commercially available from different sources, and it comes as a powder and has different colors. Most of them are not really analyzed to know exactly how much resveratrol you have. So there may be some, maybe not, we don't know. We typically in Salvona, we qualify the resveratrol to determine exactly the dosage that it contains. So what do we know about resveratrol before we start working? So first of all, it's available in 2 isomers, cis and trans. You're familiar with this. Cis and trans. The trans isomer is more biological active. So once you get resveratrol, you have to make sure resveratrol is in the trans isomer and not in the cis, because it's not so effective. Okay, now resveratrol comes to us as a white powder. This is how we get it. But as you see in the picture, there are powders coming from different sources and they have different colors. Resveratrol is not soluble in water. And this is how I got first familiar with resveratrol when one of our customers tried to use resveratrol and he told me, look at this, all the resveratrol precipitating. I cannot suspend it. Okay, so this is the first issue. What do we know about stability? We know it's soluble in fat, which is good. Once we're able to put it on the skin, it may able to penetrate to the deeper layer because it's fat soluble. It's also soluble with polyethylene glycol 400, PEG 400. But if you don't want to use PEG, then you have a problem and you will have to use a technology to solve you the issue of solubility. It's soluble in alcohol, but we don't want to use alcohol. So what happens when we put it in water? In the beginning, after a short time, like a week, we get a yellow suspension. You don't see the resveratrol, but it's precipitating. But anyway, it makes the whole emulsion colored. In a month, it becomes brown, and it could get even more dark brown because resveratrol is a very strong antioxidant. It is reacting. As it's reacting, it changes the color.